You're watching Soul Sisters on Pure Soul, powered by Isaac Hayes on Dash Radio.
We're back. This is Soul Sisters on Dash Radio. I'm Heather Hayes, and we have Miss Kim Strong with us.
Hello.
And guess what?
Wait a minute.
Guess what? We have a special guest, my buddy that I haven't seen in 100 years. I used to hang out with him all the time. We have Mr. Jason Weaver.
What's going on? What's going on?
Hi, Jason.
What's happening, Heather? How are you? Good. First of all, you guys, please excuse my voice. As you can tell, I'm battling a cold.
Yes.
But I had to come here today because, like you said, we haven't seen each other in years. I've been keeping up with the show, even with your brother Ike's show. I'm really proud of what you guys are doing and using this platform, you know, to bring people like myself in where we can promote, talk about what we're doing, but also make people aware of what's going on here in the community in Atlanta and what we're doing as people of color in this business. So salute.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. So wait, when did you
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can go live.
Okay.
When did you leave Atlanta?
I've never left.
So you're bi-coastal.
I'm just bi-coastal. No, my home is right up north, like in Roswell, East Cobb. I mean, this is where I've raised my son. My son is 18 now.
That is...
Wow.
First of all,
you remember...
I'm old as hell because he's 18 and I remember him little.
When he was little. Like I think when his mom was like still pregnant.
Yeah.
Is when we were really kicking it really heavy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So no, he's 18 now. And you know, my mother still lives down here.
Yeah.
And I still got the rest of my extended family here, like Tricky and all those guys and Mark and everybody.
Yeah.
So no, this is home.
Oh, awesome. Because I thought you were just out in LA. You were out in LA a lot though.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm producing, well, as of recently, I've been back out in LA because I'm producing a couple different projects right now.
Awesome.
So I had to be out there for that.
Yeah.
And, I just come back home when I need to like get away.
Yeah.
And come back to reality and be around my real friends.
Yeah.
And people that I love and be in an environment that I'm comfortable in. Like
That's
I'm
awesome.
comfortable here in Atlanta and I come down here just to like recalibrate and work too.
Yeah.
But a lot of times just to come back and decompress and reconnect.
So why don't we let's start from the beginning because I didn't know you when you was little Michael Jackson, but was that your first? Let's just start with when did you get the acting bug, or did you just kind of fall upon it?
I've always had it. I've always, since I was a young kid, I've always been fascinated with television and film. And one of the first movies that I ever saw was E.T. And I remember looking at Drew Barrymore and looking at the rest of the young cast in there and saying like, man, I want to do that. I just thought what they were doing was cool. And I could see that they were obviously being creative in some kind of way. I knew even back then that stories were fictional. But I just saw it like, it was just really, really fascinating. I wanted to be a part of that. And, you know, thankfully my mother was already in the business in Chicago because that's where I'm originally from, Chicago, Illinois. Shout out to the Chi, my people up there. My mother has a background in the jingle business and also as a background singer, and so do my aunts as background singers. They work with like Curtis Mayfield, the Ohio Players, and a few other like legendary artists and groups. They had the opportunity to do their own record through Capitol Records and Mercury. They were called Kitty and the Haywoods for anybody out there, R&B, you know, nostalgic folks out there that are passionate about, you know, R&B music. You would definitely know about them, especially like Chicago. So, so that's where I kind of got my introduction to the professional end of being in the business, was being around my mother, and being around my other relatives who were actively involved in the industry already. And it kind of just naturally transitioned from there and started doing auditions, auditioning for commercials, things like that initially. And then I finally got my first feature film role on a film called The Long Walk Home, starring Whoopi Goldberg and Sissy Spacek. For anybody out there that doesn't know about that film, it's based around the Montgomery bus boycott during the Civil Rights Movement. It's about two families on polar opposite ends of what was going on in Montgomery, Alabama. One was a white family, one was a black family. And really like a critically acclaimed film. Wasn't that commercially successful, but yet and still I was proud to be a part of that.
That's an awesome film though.
And then from there, I just kind of just continued to, you know, God has just continued to bless me since then, where I've done like television shows. I did Brewster Place with Oprah, not the miniseries, but the actual like television series that came out on ABC. I'd done a foreign film, a French film called Miss Missouri that came out that was more or less successful over there across the pond. But all of those things I had done prior to me even getting the Jacksons and American
really?
Dream. Yeah,
okay.
those were projects. I was already like heavily involved in the industry and had worked on a couple feature films prior to that. But I think the Jacksons was probably the main.
Because it was commercially, it's the Jacksons. So
Yeah,
of
it's the
course
Jackson family. Like everybody wanted to see it. And no, I was honored to be a part of it. It's still, for most people, a major highlight in my career and what I've been able to do.
Well, I mean, they still play it and I still look at it.
Oh,
so.
yeah, every time.
Thank you.
Every time it comes
Every time
on.
it comes on.
How did you prepare for that role? Because you were so amazing.
Thank you.
I mean,
appreciate
amazing.
it. No, it was just like heavy preparation. Like my mom, being that she was a professional already in the business, excuse me, she just knew what it was going to take in order for me to get recognized and for my talent to get acknowledged. So there was a certain level of discipline as it related to preparing even for the audition and time that I put into it. So by the time I auditioned, like for the first leg, I think my performance kind of stuck out in front of everybody because they could tell I really took the time to understand the Jackson 5, not just Michael Jackson,
Right.
but understanding like the songs and the history. And so that really helped me out to have her coaching me and leading me in the right direction. And so I credit her just as much as I do for my own hard work for the reason that I got that role,
Yeah, that was, so I can't remember in that movie, you had to sing though, right?
I had to sing.
So I mean, in the beginning, because you just started acting kind of off the bat, did you always know that you could sing as well? Because I know your mom's a singer, basically.
Oh yeah, no, we grew up. Me and my relatives, my extended family, we grew up in the studio. Like we grew up hanging out at our mother's sessions, jingle sessions, or records that they were doing on their own when they were a group. We also grew up singing in the church. My Aunt Ann, Mary Ann Stewart, shout out to Aunt Ann. She had an all-female mass choir that toured the Chicagoland area.
Oh, wow.
Throughout the, I say, early 80s to mid 90s. And that gave me, my cousin Tricky, my cousin Laney, my cousin Kook, all of us, it gave us an opportunity to kind of hone and develop our skills as singers and as musicians and just understanding music, music theory, chord progressions, like all that stuff. Well, I don't play. I know I can look at things and understand, but I never had the patience to learn an actual instrument. My other cousins took the time to do it, but I was so focused on, I just wanted to sing a little bit, but mostly I wanted to act.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of my focus, went as a youth. But no, I mean, we were taught, we were classically trained in a sense, as far as like what to do as vocalists and musicians and the whole nine. Yeah.
So after did you realize what impact the Michael Jackson miniseries was going to have on your career?
No. I mean, I knew it was going to be popular. I knew that people were going to, tune in because they were curious as to whether we were going to be able to pull it off or not. But I didn't know how I was going to be received, and I didn't know how the film was going to be received. And thankfully, the people spoke out and they supported it and they loved it and they were able to appreciate and recognize our creative contribution. And I appreciate them for that. Like, because that was a hard role to play. And, you have Jackson family fanatics out there. You got Michael Jackson fanatics who are very opinionated.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Michael Jackson. So, I knew that was kind of looming over my head, so to speak. But I didn't focus on it a lot as we were working on it. I think my main thing was I just wanted to do justice to Michael. And as long as he was proud and as long as he was pleased with it, then, I was content with that because I knew that, public opinion, people are going to feel any kind of way anyhow. So
even that young, you knew that.
Yeah, and like, damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Yeah.
People are going to figure something
But did they
out.
receive you well, though? I'm sure they did.
Overwhelmingly, like, positively, like, I was received really well. So I was very blessed to have that kind of connection with the viewing audience. And I, first and foremost, I thank God for that. For allowing me to have that connection with the audience. And I thank the fans, the Jackson fans and Michael's fans for giving me a legitimate shot to showcase my talent and to entertain them. And hopefully I did. And thank y'all.
What do you think about, because just looking back at what, my perspective is probably going to be different than yours would too. But when you look at that story and you're telling the story, because fame affected that family.
Yeah.
So when you started stepping into your fame and your career, and you have a mother and a child and maybe a girlfriend, do you see any correlation between that? Like when you were studying for it, what it meant to that family and what they went through, did you reflect when you started having some of the same experiences?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because I think that's one of the main reasons why I kind of chose to live my life the way that I do. You know me.
Yeah.
I live a very under the radar kind of low key life. I'm a very private person. And but I understand my role of being a public figure, so to speak, or a celebrity. And what I had to find out was how to balance that. Because this is a job. It's a 24/7, 365 job. Like when you get on that screen and people begin to watch you and establish a rapport with you and they welcome you into their lives and into their homes, there's an unwritten contract that you kind of like sign, saying like, you know, I'm here for the long haul. So, you know, that's something that you have to come to grips with initially and accept if you want to be in this business.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think with me understanding that as an early age, seeing how fame can negatively affect an individual or a family, you know, thankfully through the Jacksons and their experience, I was able to learn like, well, nah, I don't necessarily want to experience that.
Yeah.
So, you know, what I'll do is when I need to be out and when I need to be doing my thing, of course, I'll be visible and, you know, I'll be out there in the marketplace and doing what I need to do on my end. But when it's time for me to sit down and to have a normal life and to be a human being, just to be Jason Michael Weaver,
Yeah.
then I'm going to do that. And when it's time to turn up, we'll do that. But it's all about, and that's just life in general. Pardon me. That's life in general. It's all about balance. And that was something that I was able to learn at a very young age due to that experience.
You know, I could. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I can tell because growing up, we watched you, right? You were so mature as a child. You know what I mean? Even in your craft, but just even how you handle yourself.
Thank you.
Where did you get that from as a child? Like, how was that instilled in you?
My mother.
Really?
Yeah, my mother.
We used to tease him. We be down here hanging out like, your mama gonna kill you. She ain't playing these games with you, boy.
Yeah, and that's when she was still living in Chicago.
I was like, ooh.
So I was down here like, you know, doing my thing. I was moving around. I'm going to the little strip clubs. I was doing a lot. Your brother included. We were all there.
Yes.
No, but I mean, you know, what I can credit my mother with is not only did she instill that in me, and she was stern when she needed to be, and she disciplined me when I needed to be disciplined, but she also gave me the space as a young man to develop and to make my mistakes, at least where they weren't like, you know, they didn't cause any irreparable damage.
Yeah.
But she allowed me to experience those things that I think every man, and especially black men living in this country,
Yes.
have to learn kind of early on. And I think that helps you, you know, maintain or sustain life a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was just very thankful to have her, the other women in my family, my aunts, Aunt Vivian, God rest her soul. She was a main person that would always reach out to me and pray with me and talk with me and share spiritual insight, wisdom. My Aunt Ann, we still have very real conversations. Like when I can't talk to my mother about something, I can talk to my Aunt Ann. And, you know, of course, my mother was my rock. And then I've had other influences around me. And, you know, coincidentally, most of them, if not all of them, have been strong black women. From Suzanne DePass to my good friend Tony Patillo, who was my direct manager. I mean, everybody that's ever helped me out and steered me in the right direction.
Yeah.
Most of them have been black women, absolutely.
Amazing.
What do you think that, how do you think that your fame and what you've been through has shaped you as a parent as far as protecting your child from fame? Because he's in a time where we didn't really have social media like this.
Yeah.
So it's probably even more difficult for him than it would be for you.
Well, what I credit my son with is he knows what his family does, and he respects what we do. But he has seen us go through our peaks and valleys, and he knows that it's a marathon and not a sprint. And he knows that this is the way that we're feeding the families. We're keeping roofs over our heads. We're putting clothes on our children's backs. And he sees the sacrifices that we make in order to provide that. Like, this isn't fun and games. Like, you You know, a lot of people come into this with delusions of grandeur, just thinking that you just come into this and it's just this, you know, this crazy world. And it can be exciting, don't get me wrong, but like for those of us who are veterans in it, those of us who grew up in it, you know, we recognize what it is.
Yeah.
So thankfully, my son, as he saw me go through different things throughout different stages of my career, and even as I continued to develop as a man, because I became a father at a somewhat young age, we kind of helped each other grow up. And we taught each other different things at different times, and I think because of that, he treats it and he views it the way that he should. Like, this is what my dad does, but this doesn't define who we are as men. It doesn't define who we are as a family. This is just what we do. So there's no reason to get gassed. There's no, you know what I'm saying? There's no reason to feel like you're above anybody. My son is very humble. I'm very blessed to have him in my life. Like, I tell people all the time that my son is the greatest blessing that God has ever placed in my life outside of whatever career accomplishment or anything that I've done in my life thus far. My son is my greatest blessing, my greatest accomplishment. So I'm proud to see the man that he's, you know, turning into. And I'm very excited to see, you know, what his future is going to be like. And I'm just going to
inherit any of your talents?
He really wants to be more on the business side.
Oh, good.
He's heavily into like digital marketing. Like, he knows how to move around within social media and monetize that.
Okay.
Because he showed me some things that I was unaware of. And I was like, man, like, okay. And that's where a lot of kids are nowadays. You know, it's kind of different now.
Yeah.
Like, kids, it's not like how it was when we were growing up, where everybody just wanted to get into movies, everybody wanted to get a record deal. I mean, they understand the power of these different types of mediums and how to utilize them and how to turn them into something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To benefit them, and not necessarily have to depend on corporate America that hard, or you know, like how we had to, where there was gatekeepers. And I mean, there still are, but you know, these kids have a way of bypassing that now. So he's one of those kids that's figured it out, and all I'm just going to continue to do is support him. Yeah. And as much as, you know, he learns from me, you know, what I can teach him as a man, I'm learning from him as an entrepreneur, some of the things that he's helping me to do to keep up and to stay current. Right. With what's going on out here. So thank you, Jalen. I love you, buddy.
So I don't know. We got to wait. Oh, I was going to ask him something else. What are we going to? Oh, yeah. Because I got to get to this meme that came, this whole thing about the Lion King that was all of a sudden became viral. I'm like, who brought that up? So what are we going out with? Okay. Well, it just says, I just can't wait to be king. Are we going to go with the Lion King? That's the Lion King song, though. All right, guys. We're going to go to break with Jason Weaver. What's Jason, the Lion King?
I just can't wait to be king.
Song. Oh, my God.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Thank you to everyone, too, that loves I Just Can't Wait to Be King. I appreciate it.
Well, they love that. And so the funny thing is that there was this meme. I don't know if it's a meme, but they were talking about your deal. Yeah. Or lack thereof, or whatever you want to call it, because people don't understand the business. Right. The choice that you made as far as your contractual obligation and the money that you chose to take and not take. So first of all, explain how Lion King came about, and then because we talk about this, Isaac, we're talking about we're going to have a show about, because it's the same almost as selling your publishing, basically, or waiting for. We're going to have like a show about that, because so many people still do that, and they don't have ownership in certain things. Right. So start out with explaining how Lion King came about, and then you can explain to everyone why you chose to take the route you did when it came to your financial, situation with that.
The blessing and the opportunity came about while I was doing The Jacksons, An American Dream. And we were shooting Who's Loving You as like a performance scene. And it just so happened that particular day, the sound department was having like major playback issues to where they could only like pull up the track. But because I sang the song prior to that, pre-recorded, and we had it, but for some odd reason, they just couldn't pull it up. And so the director, Karen Arthur, she said, well, you know, Jason, would you mind just actually singing it? She said it may actually work better because it's supposed to be a live performance. And of course, I didn't mind. I was there to do my job. So I was singing the song and performing it, unbeknownst to me, I guess at that time, Elton John was like visiting the set, as most people, kind of did while we were shooting the Jacksons. It'd be like different pop stars and celebrities that would just come through to show love and support. Because like Pac came through one day with Janet. Like it was always an event on that set. So, and me not really knowing that much about Elton John, prior to my involvement with working with him on The Lion King, I just knew about Benny and the Jets and, maybe like Rocket Man, maybe, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't really that familiar. And so I guess he had approached my mother while I was performing and said, hey, is that your son? And she's like, yeah. He said, well, man, I think he has a really solid voice. There's a project that I'm working on Disney right now called The Lion King. And I would like for him to audition for that movie. And so my mother was like, okay, well, how do we do that? Because we didn't have a relationship with Disney prior to that. So sure enough, like his people got in contact with my management at the time and orchestrated it to where I can get an audition. And so I think it was like the day after I wrapped the Jacksons miniseries, Disney kept me and my mother in town in Los Angeles for like another 2 to 3 days to record the song and see if I could actually sing it, if it would work out. And sure enough, like one of the first takes when I went in there and sang it, they had made the decision right then and there. They were like, okay, so you're great. So we're going to offer you the role. And, we just want you to continue to go in there, sing the song and have fun. So there's footage that's around that I've seen on the internet to where they actually are showing me recording the song. And that was because Disney had set up cameras then for the animation department to hopefully capture someone like my facial expressions and body movements and the whole nine. So that's where that footage comes from. That's the reason why they recorded it. And so I got through with the session and we went back to Chicago, I think on a red-eye flight that night. And, after that, they began to, the business affairs department at Disney, of course, reached out to my management, my attorney at the time. And no, it was my agent, reached out to them at the time and presented the initial offer, which, I stated before was just a flat payout of like $2 million. And like what I'd stated in other interviews, for anybody that gets approached with that kind of money initially, especially young artists, everybody gets excited about that. I mean, that's, to some, that's life-changing money. And it can be if managed properly. But thankfully, and this is what I always say, and I want people to get this clear. Like, it wasn't that I was the mastermind behind this. I was guided properly by my mother and through my agents. And I had a good team of people around me that my mother assembled to ensure that I could walk away from my experience not feeling like, I was just tossing some crumbs or where I was just given something short, or I was just shortchanged. My mother understood the record business from being in it for so long, understood the importance of residual income, understood the power of negotiation, and understood within that realm of negotiation, having the strength to walk away from a deal if need be. And my mother is a businesswoman. And so she instructed me that this is what I suggest we do. She didn't say, this is what we're going to do. She said, this is what I suggest you do. And so I listened to her and I rolled the dice with her and it worked out in our favor. Thank God.
Wow.
Yes.
And and this is another thing too, because I think a lot of people got that interview misconstrued to some degree. They misunderstood the point behind it. Like, it wasn't that like after that I just, made all of this crazy money with Disney. I'm sitting on $20 million. And no, it's not that. Like, I've made more than what was initially offered over a period of time. And I will continue to make that money and pass that money down through my trust to my son.
Awesome.
So, and we recognize, or my mother recognized from the gate, that this was a Disney film. Disney makes classic intellectual properties that sell all around the world.
Yes.
I think she also understood too that over time, Disney was going to continue to generate money from this. And sure enough, she was right. I mean, the whole Animal Kingdom Resort in Disney World is based on Disney. That song, I Just Can't Wait to Be King, is pumped through the hallways
Wow.
of that hotel or that resort day in and day out. Disney Plus just launched. That song is going to play over and over and over again. And, you know, thankfully, because of that smart decision, I'll be able in some way, somehow, to be able to generate residual income from that. And so
That's amazing.
I credit my mother for that. And I thank God, first and foremost, for giving my mother the insight and the wisdom and the knowledge to be able to guide me properly.
Ooh, that is so inspiring to me. Like, we need that mindset. Like,
But
literally.
I think, and the reason why we talked about it briefly on this show, because of course, like
I'm
I
sorry,
said,
ladies. Would you happen to have like a piece of paper? My fever is like
Oh,
kicking up
no.
and I'm kind of sweating.
oh, I'm
Pardon.
sorry.
No, I'm listening though. I'm sorry.
I think it was really important what you said, because it can carry over into the record industry or producers when you're getting publishing deals and you're selling half of your publishing, and then you're broke and you have no residual income when you could have owned it. And so that's why it came up, because somebody actually sent me that interview.
Okay.
They sent it to me. They're like, why would he do that? I was like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
Listen to what he said. It's residual income. Like I said, he probably made more
Over time.
Yeah,
over time than he would have to just accept that lump sum. I was like, you got to think about the future, because you're not going to be number one and on top and getting every gig and getting every job.
And then how much do you pay the taxes anyway?
Exactly. And then you got to look at it like this. What a lot of people don't factor in is like when they first hear that you turn down $2 million, well, you know, check this out. You got to pay state and federal tax. You know what I'm saying? And then you have to pay your attorney. You have to pay your agent. You know, everybody gets a commission. Everybody eats off of that work that you've done before you do. So I probably, honestly, would have only walked away with maybe at the most $250,000 versus what I finally negotiated, which was just for $100,000 and to be able to receive a residual income from it. So at the end of the day, it was still a smart move. Like,
Your mom is my shiro.
Yeah.
well, thank you. I'll let her know. And just for everybody to know, too, my mother really, really appreciates, because she received a lot of love, especially from young Black women out there and entrepreneurs and business women, and that were inspired to hear how she took such an active role in my career and helped to steer me in the right direction. And, you know, I credit my mother for my success, because I'm still here and I'm still in a position in my life to where I can really look back on what I've worked on and what I've accomplished and not have any regrets whatsoever.
And it's so many people, I think, that because I think that's just kind of like the entrepreneurial spirit, and it's about ownership. And for so long, we as African Americans didn't have any ownership, even if it was music. And I saw an interview with my dad, and the times were very different. So you're looking at the 60s and he talked about how you guys, and I remember Jay-Z came up and he was like, the information is there for them. But for us, we just wanted to make music and we had no idea. And you're talking about people who were eating out of trash cans and sleeping in cars. And so he had nothing. And so he was like, we were signing deals and we were, and when you really look at the whole of it, because we talk about it a lot, because I'm around like James Brown's daughter, Ray Charles's daughter, just different things that have gone on. The level of just taking advantage of these men with their talents and these artists is just unbelievable. And we've all kind of talked about doing a documentary about it, because the information is there for you now. The example would be you, even though it's film, it's still the same example to wait for the residual income so you can sustain your life and your livelihood.
That's good.
And people are still making those same decisions. And that's what we were like, Isaac, you need to give a class on publishing and licensing, because that's just what he knows.
Oh, no,
That's
and
amazing.
if I may interject, that's what I was going to say too. You know, that conversation that I have with Vlad or Comedy Hype or whoever, like, that wasn't a new conversation that I've been having. We have these kind of conversations. We've had these conversations over the span of many years. Your brother, my cousins, all of us. We've had debates in the studio about splits and you know what I'm saying, and things that you know, a relative novice to the industry wouldn't understand or wouldn't have a firm grasp on yet. And I think what was so good about that segment of my interview with Vlad or with Comedy Hype going viral was the fact that it was educating our people. And that's what I feel good about. I didn't, because I don't even really like to discuss my deals. Like that's not even my thing. Like as you know, as we all know as professionals, when you close a deal, the deal is closed.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to really discuss it after that because what's done is done. But it just so happened in that interview, Vlad asked the question, and I just thought it was important at the time to share the information. And I was hoping that it would reach a certain amount of people that be able to understand and take something away from it. But thankfully, a lot of Black people, people of color in the industry were able to look at that interview and weigh what I was saying and go, okay, what would I do?
Yeah.
And it made them think different about how to approach their careers and the importance of longevity and the importance of negotiating your deals properly and not just going for anything and everything when somebody's dangling a carrot. And like what you stated earlier, kind of just support what you were saying, if I may. So many of us for so long have seen, our champions and our superstars. You see their unsung stories later on, or you see their documentaries later on, and, they don't have half of what they rightfully deserve based on the work that they've put in.
Yeah.
And their creative contribution. And we always walk away from those interviews like, oh, God. Like, man, that's so depressing, or, that's messed up or whatever. But, hopefully now we're in a place as a people to where we're beginning to really recognize our worth.
Yes.
Especially as it relates to intellectual property, especially as it relates to business in America in general.
Yes.
And, when you have cities like the city that we reside in, which I'm so proud to be a part of this community because there are examples of that black excellence every day.
Yeah.
That inspire me and that motivate me. And I just hope that, the youth out there in particular continue to learn from my story, from our stories, and be able to apply it to their game plan and hopefully, generate more money than we did and become even more successful. Like, I want to see our children and our people continue to prosper and win.
Yeah.
And so I'm thankful that I was given the opportunity to share that story and that it was able to resonate and connect.
It was people were texting, like not really understanding. So it was definitely impactful. And you can transfer that to anything that you want to do as an entrepreneur. That ownership is the most important thing. And
knowing your worth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Knowing your worth.
Not selling it.
Every door is not your door.
Yeah. And there's one thing, and I hate to quote this idiot, but there's one thing that he has in his book, because I read his book, Art of the Deal. And he said that you have to be, you're on the powerful end of the negotiating table if you're the one that is able to walk away from the deal, no matter, even if it's a life-changing opportunity.
Yeah.
If you're the one that's able to walk away from the deal and say, then you're the stronger one sitting at the negotiation table. And as a business person, you have to be willing to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, that's just business, man. Don't let anybody shortchange you.
Did that today.
You know what I mean? So, no, really.
We did.
You know what I mean? So I just hope that that will continue, that message will continue to travel throughout our people and our communities. And please take something away from it. But I don't want people to get that misunderstood and think, oh man, Jason's just sitting on the M's and he's about to open up an amusement park. And, nah, it's not like that. But we've done well. We've been blessed.
That was a smart decision. So before you go, when you leave us, what are you working on now?
I am currently working on, I'm producing 2 different projects right now, 2 different animated projects. One is called Team Supreme, based around kids with disabilities and special needs, whose disabilities and special needs are turned into superpowers through their doctor and their teacher, that helps them out. And this amazing project was created by a Black artist and animator down here by the name of Joshua Leonard. Shout out to Joshua Leonard Studios. He was gracious enough to allow me to move his property around Hollywood a little bit. I was able to take it to my good friend Lena Waith at Hillman Grad, who instantly, connected with it. She was already, unbeknownst to me, she was already very interested in it because she had seen it on the internet going viral. And when I saw this video of her saying that she was looking for it, I was like, oh my God, this is great. So I called her up and I said, sis, hey, I saw this amazing panel discussion that you had and about this property that you wanted to look into and possibly produce. Well, I have access to it. Would you mind looking at it and, giving us a chance? And sure enough, she did. She took the project on at Hillman Grad. Hillman Grad has been developing the project with us. Shout out to Rishi Rajani. And we are in the process of developing that now. I will revisit you guys at a later date and tell you exactly where you all can see it because we're actually in the middle of pitching it right now to a major network. But it's a go. It's pretty much a shoe-in. So I have that going. I have another project going called The Secret Society that was created by Antonio Reed Jr. And Prowler Man, Dantley Wyatt, Cage Parker. They have a production company called Cloud Park Productions based here in Atlanta. And they created this really, really interesting animated project that I thought that I could move around and build some traction around. And so I took it to my cousin Mark Stewart and Judy Stewart, who then took it to our producing partner, Geneva Wasserman. And then we partnered with Geneva and we took it up to Comedy Central. And right now we're at Comedy Central with that.
Awesome.
We're in development hell. I'll keep it all the way funky. We are in development hell, but Comedy Central has been very gracious, very professional. And we thank them because they're giving some guys that, prior to that had never produced anything before. They're giving us a legitimate shot and really believing in the show. So anybody from Comedy Central that may be checking us out, thank you so much. I was just kidding when I said we're in development hell, but I would like to get an order to series, please. So I've worked on that. And then on the acting side, I just did a guest starring role on Boomerang for BET.
Oh, cool.
So look out for that. It's a possible reoccurring character, maybe.
Oh,
we'll see.
awesome.
But I had the opportunity to work on that a couple weeks ago. And, other than that, I'm just like writing, producing projects, and again, trying to take more ownership in the content that I'm developing and that, that I'll even star in. I just think, the time is out now just to be.
Can we expect new music?
Yeah. That's another thing that I'm doing right now. I'm actually working with a couple of different producers down here. My cousin Tricky Stewart and Dream are gracious enough to give me
Come on, Tricky.
an amazing song.
Come on, cousin Tricky.
They wrote me an amazing joint called I Don't Care that I'm actually going to be recording
Awesome.
in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to just release a little 4 or 5 song EP.
Awesome.
Just sharing my gift that I've been blessed with the people that rock with me. This isn't about vanity. This isn't about chasing a dragon. This isn't about trying to keep up with what the other young boys out here is doing as far as R&B or music or whatever. I'm staying in my lane and I'm just presenting a creative effort from me that's genuine.
Yeah.
And I want it to be received in that way. I'm not looking to move anybody, and I'm not excuse my language, fuck all that. I just want to do great music and give something to the people that I think they'll enjoy.
Well, I'm sure they will. That is
Awesome.
awesome. Thank you for hanging out with us.
I appreciate
love,
it.
love.
And I'm so sorry if I annoyed anybody with my scratchy voice today. But
You'll get over it. You don't like to
appreciate
complain about anything. But so we're gonna go out with "Stay With Me"
hey,
by Jason Weaver.
all right.
You're watching Soul Sisters on Pure Soul, powered by Isaac Hayes on Dash Radio.